Okay, so welcome to Escape the Rat Race Radio, Paul. How are you doing today?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Excellent. And where in the world are you right now?
So I'm based in Hertfordshire at the moment and heading up to London this afternoon for a networking event. So managed to cram a load in today. So I've been looking forward to this one and getting that done before I head up to town, which is good.
Excellent stuff. And I'm amazed actually that our paths haven't crossed sooner than this, Paul, because we're very much in the same sort of network and the property world here, especially in London and the southeast. But it was actually through your YouTube channel, which one of our Escape the Rat Race members put to my attention a couple of weeks ago, and as soon as I started watching the videos, I was like, wow, I've got to get in touch with you, because it is just so point with our listeners who are really kind of still figuring out how can they start making money outside of a full-time job when time is short, resources are short. And we're going to talk about the challenge that you have created with your son Jack, and it's a soon to be a YouTube sensation if it's not already. I'm absolutely sure. But give us a bit of background, Paul, as to kind of where things started off for you. And I know we talk about entrepreneurship, but I really do regard you as a true entrepreneur. So let people know kind of what you've been up to.
Yeah, so I mean, it all started, everyone starts normally into work, and I did that for probably a bit too long, but I left college, went straight into commodity brokerage when I was 17, and I was there till actually 2 years ago. I think it's tomorrow. I left, so I was there for just under 20 years, which at the time was half my life, and I was very keen to get out of that environment. But I've always had a drive to run other businesses alongside my work, and it was the fact that we were quite a successful desk probably kept me in there longer than I should have done, and I should have got out a bit sooner. But the main thing that made me drive to escape the day job was when my son was born in 2012. I just realised doing what I was doing, I just wasn't going to spend that much time with him day to day, because it was long hours, it was a long commute. So set out a 5-year plan in 2012 to use property as the main vehicle to get out of work, and 4.5 years later was when I left. So managed to hit that goal, and it's been a very big transition. And for those that are listening, thinking that it won't be a shock to the system when you do get out of work and go full time, I'll tell you now, it is a big shock, especially when you've been on the same desk for over half your life. To lose the people around you, etc., is a big transition. But 2 years in, I'm just about getting the hang of it.
Yeah, I think people don't really prepare you for that, do they? That first day when you kind of roll out of bed and you're suddenly the boss of you, and you've got no one shouting, and you haven't got to be anywhere at a set time, and it's a big mindset shift, isn't it, in terms of being very disciplined and really getting down to the stuff that needs to be done.
It does, and your lay-ins creep later every day if you're not careful. And I think they got up to about 8:30 at one point, and I had to correct that very quickly. But the first 6 months were very tough, I will admit, and I'm quite open about it. That for me, I really struggled with it. Like the camaraderie of being on a trading floor with 400 other people, then coming out of that environment was a big hit for me. But going forward now, you just build the network of people around you that are around in this environment, in property especially, and having that has helped me to keep going and keep motivated.
Yeah. And if you were to kind of pick a couple of key things that you think have helped you to be successful in property, what would those things be?
I'd say networking has been massive, just because when you start out, you don't have other people to bounce ideas off. And one other thing I did in 2015, I did one of the 1-year mastermind programs from one of the well-known trainers, and did that. It was an 11-month program, and managed to become one of the top performers on that, and ended up on stage presenting for the first time, which was very nerve-wracking, but got great results from that 1 year, and that gave me the confidence that I was on the right path. I had a rough idea of what I was doing, and shouldn't be scared of leaving work and doing it full time.
Yeah. I can already tell, just from speaking to you, Paul, that, you seem to be a very driven individual. Do you think that's just something naturally that you've always had about you, or is there a real sort of burning reason why as to, why this is so important for you?
Well, I honestly thought that once I got out of the day job, I would just chill out and not do a lot and play golf. But I realised very quickly that I would just go insane if I did that. And just always been fairly driven to get stuff done, and I just like problem solving, and I like being manic. I don't know why, but I just love it. And Laura, who sits opposite me, dealing with all my stuff, she's giggling right now because she knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, we talk about personality types, right? And we use the wealth dynamics test. I don't know if you've ever come across that. Perhaps
I've done it. Yeah.
Through the program. What do you remember? What your profile is?
It's on the wall in the walkway. It's a mechanic. Mechanic's the primary, and I think it's Lord secondary, I think.
And creator as well on the right hand side. So definitely a lot of that energy, that dynamo energy, I'm sure that we see coming through. I was hoping to
be trader. I don't know why it wasn't.
Well, maybe that's the reason why you got out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the obviously the podcast today is really looking at the YouTube channel that you set up, Paul, and it's the £1 to £100,000 in 1 year challenge that you've set up with your son Jack. So tell our listeners who perhaps haven't come across this yet a little bit more about why you decided to start this challenge, and what were the parameters and rules that you set yourself when you created this.
So the challenge was, the main reason it started was I had a lot of people message me on Instagram, and that's the main social media platform that I use these days, and had a lot of questions on how to generate extra revenue. They were seeing some of the stuff I was doing, like in development and stuff, and they were saying, how can I start out getting extra revenue? And I would say to them, the most basic business to start is just buying and selling stuff. It's getting stuff in job lots, it's selling it on, it's trying to buy stuff low price, sell it high. It's the simplest business. And I'd have a lot of resistance to that. They would say, it's okay for you because you've got money to invest, you've got more time than me. There'd just be excuses after excuses about why they couldn't do it, and I could. So I set this challenge out. It's on the YouTube channel as 1 to 100,000. I don't know what the guy who does my videos edited as that, but it's actually 0.
Oh, okay.
So I had to start with 0.
Okay, yeah.
And the rules were I had to start with 0 cash. I couldn't use any existing relationships, and had to really start out from scratch. And I was trying to do it within a couple of hours a day. Now, some days I hold my hands up. It can take 5-6 hours, but then I wouldn't touch it for a couple of days. So, but I'd say average over the course of this year has been 1 or 2 hours a day, and it's got to the stage now where there's enough revenue in the pot that I can leverage and outsource other people's time to help out as well. But the first stage was getting from 0 to the first £100. That was very tricky, and what do you do? So the first thing I did was go onto Facebook Marketplace and search within 5 mile radius and just trying to find stuff for free, and then go and pick it up. It sounds simple, but if something's half decent and free, you've got to move very fast, because I was messaging adverts that were 10 minutes old and it'd already be gone, and had to pick up a few bits and pieces. And when I bought a headboard, picked up a headboard for free, sat outside the house, listed it on Facebook back again for £20-25, sold it a couple of days later, and it would just be that process at the start. It was real hustling, moving fast, going to pick stuff up, and I actually really enjoy going back to basics on that. It was quite interesting, and it soon scales. The first few weeks it was hard because I wanted to start investing money, but didn't have any. I had to keep it all within the restraints of the challenge. But within a few weeks, we had a couple of £100, and then we'd go on to phase 2, which was going to buy stuff at car boot sales, etc., and go from there. So it just spirals, and it's amazing how quickly it compounds, because I'd be buying stuff at a car boot sale, for example. I stick a lot on my Instagram stories about stuff I buy and sell, I've stuck one up today of some cufflinks I bought for £2 that sold for €44. So it's £40 roughly. I mean, the amount of margin you can make is quite big. You can easily get 10, 20 times your money if you know what you're looking for. And some of the videos show how you search. We've got one released today actually that will show how you can actually scan. So people think, oh, I can't do it because I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the knowledge of it. I use an app. It's quite easy to do. You just work out what the thing's worth and work your way back from there, how much you can pay.
Yeah. And the YouTube channel, if someone searches Taylor Entrepreneur, that's going to bring up all of the videos, and definitely subscribe. And I know you've got like a premiere, tonight. So you're scheduling videos to come out. And, the great thing is that you've obviously taken Jack, your son, along for the ride here. And I'm amazed that you ask him, like, how much did we spend? He's got the numbers like that. He seems on it.
He does forget sometimes on the video, but we leave it in because I find it quite funny. But some of the numbers are getting quite big now, so it's I don't blame him for mucking up. But he's the best part about it is, and it was one of the main reasons, was just to teach him the value of money, because a lot of kids will just go and want this, want that. They don't appreciate how much it costs and how much it's worth as soon as they buy it. So a toy that might be £60 is suddenly worth £5. And I just say to him, like, if you really want this, we'll hunt around for it and see if we can find it cheaper. And it just, in the process during the videos, you'll probably see, if you watch from one, he hardly speaks in the first video because he's nervous, and I'm not great on the camera, but you just get used to it. And he's just really come out of his shell. He's 7 now, and he's really enjoying going around. He knows the stuff we bought before, and he knows the stuff that sells well, which is really interesting to see.
Yeah, it really is. And have you seen other changes in him in terms of now him being able to really spot kind of opportunities and almost bringing stuff to you that he finds? He
does actually spot stuff that I miss sometimes because he's lower down when we're walking along. It's a bit of an advantage. So he's always perusing underneath the tables while I'm looking on top, and he does spot some stuff because he remembers what we've bought before. He'll know that that's generally good because we've already bought it. And he'll then see that again. And honestly, sometimes I miss stuff, and he'll point it out and say, look, we've bought this before and we've sold it loads of times. I mean, stuff like master lock padlocks, we buy it all the time and they sell for a really good margin. And he spotted a couple last week actually that I didn't see. Yeah. So he's definitely learning, which is good.
Yeah. And is it fair to say really that when you start changing your mindset and thinking more like an entrepreneur, that you see opportunities all around you? And the videos are showing that you're driving down the road, you just spot something, and there's a few quid.
Yeah, exactly. It's so addictive. And I remember right at the start we were trying to I was trying to factor all the costs in. So obviously fuel's going to be a cost anyone's going to have involved on this. So I remember I went to go and fill the van up right at the start, and I was thinking, I don't really want to spend £40 on fuel here. And went into the garage and I saw they had a sale on oil. So I bought every bottle I had in there, stuck them into Amazon, and I think we made about £46 on that. And then that paid for the fuel.
That's amazing.
But it's just spotting the opportunities. Even in the supermarket, when you're doing a food shop, you go in the discount aisle, scan some stuff. I'll try and do it wherever I go, just so that the general ethos is that I'm trying to cover the cost of the stuff I'm buying anyway by doing the retail arbitrage stuff, trying to make money from that.
Yeah.
Bring my cost of living down.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that word arbitrage, because that essentially is kind of the tactic, the strategy here. And for anyone who maybe has been looking at different online business opportunities, then of course you can't ignore Amazon, right? It's absolutely
biggest marketplace in the world at the moment.
And it's changing. Many of the Escape the Rat Race members, have left their jobs and are now running Amazon businesses, and have that freedom to travel the world and literally just run the business from anywhere where there's an internet connection. And I know you're using a combination of Amazon, eBay, Facebook, and multiple streams of income is important to you, isn't it? It's not just relying on any one pillar, really.
No, and one of the things I I talk about quite a lot and get invited to speak about is de-risking portfolios, because coming from a financial markets background, you're trying to mitigate as much risk as possible, and especially in the property world, you have to try and cover risk, because at some point we're going to have a downturn. That's a certainty, but you're trying to give yourself a diverse portfolio across different revenue streams, different markets that will lock off different. If there's a period in time where rental demand may come off, you have other income coming in from somewhere that will offset it, for example. It's just about trying to mitigate that. And one thing we do in property is we'll try and buy into different areas and different types of strategy, because say the legislation changes on HMOs, for example, you don't want to have every property as a HMO, because then you're completely affected. It's the same as any other strategy, it's any other revenue stream. We're just trying to create pockets of income from different areas.
Yeah, and on your social media channels, certainly on the YouTube channel, you're sharing additional tips outside of just the challenge, aren't you? I saw one where you were sharing about, how to use a mortgage and actually leverage more cash flow that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it was one thing I did myself before I left work, was try and utilise a bit more debt to try and cover off the mortgage. So effectively, the house we sit in here is paid for by 3 other rental properties, and that's just covered off. But it's just, you have to change your mindset on appetite to risk, because some people just don't want any debt, and debt you need to take on if you want to scale faster. It's the only way to do it. But some people just can't get their head around having like 10 mortgages.
Yeah. And I heard you mention in one of your videos that one of your favourite books or influential books was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I would say is the number one book that Escape the Rat Race listeners read, and it really just turns on that light bulb moment in their heads. And actually last night in London we were playing the Cash Flow 101 game, which is always fantastic and lots of fun. Robert Kiyosaki talks about good debt, bad debt, and I think that basic understanding really does flip people's attitude towards money and risk, doesn't it?
It definitely does, and that book is a massive mindset shift for sure. And I think I first read it when I was 28, and the thing that kills me, I think it was sat on my bedside table for about 4 years before I read it, and I was livid. But leveraging debt is, it's not. You have to educate yourself on how to manage that. That's for sure. And I'll always say, if you've got money to invest money in yourself as well. And we're constantly doing. I'm going to ClimbCon tomorrow. Sir Alan Sugar's talking, and I'd love to go to those sort of events, because one, it gives you a boost, but two, you're going to learn something, and hopefully learn from people that have scaled so big as he has. It's never going to hurt you, is it? Knowing more about different things. So I always say try and invest in yourself as well. But it's all about just trying to cover off as much as you can so you're not exposed in as much as some people are.
Yeah. So looking back at the challenge then, how far are you into it at the moment now, Paul?
So we obviously started January the 1st, so we're nearly halfway.
Okay.
In time, but revenue-wise, we are. In fact, I've got the spreadsheet here. So revenue-wise, we're on about. So it's a tricky one, this, because sales-wise, we're 89,000. We've sold 89,000's worth of stock, but we're sitting on about 220,000's worth of stock at the moment. And a lot of that is the recent stuff we've been buying is jewellery. So from a liquidated jewellery business, and the problem with that is I'm now educating myself on what jewellery is worth. It's a complete minefield. So you have to go to some friendly guys that you've got a half decent relationship. Otherwise, you could get really ripped off by trying to sell this stuff to someone that's got a lot more knowledge than you. So I'm trying to sell bits and pieces here and there just to try and get a rough idea, but going into auctions, etc. And one of the things you'll see in the video is the gym equipment challenge that we did. Now, this was a big one. I was sat in a business that deals with liquidations of companies, and having run a gym for 10 years, I have a real good understanding of the value of the equipment. And we had to bid on the lot that was coming in. It was a big 10,000 square foot gym, and I bid 20,000 plus VAT for this. And I didn't have the storage, I didn't have the cash, and I didn't have any way of moving it when I put that offer in, but it just happened to be right place at the right time, and got the deal agreed, managed to pre-sell. So the biggest thing I did there was I took action quickly, and 2 other people tried to buy it after me, and I got their numbers and then managed to sell them some of the prime items they wanted, and took the deposits from them, gave the deposits to the other company that I was buying from, and then effectively had to sort out storage 2,500 square foot in 3 days to try and move it. So we managed to take a property on license, which this morning, talk about you have to get stuck in. This morning we had 1 treadmill left in there, and the guy didn't turn up for it, so I've had to go before this interview to go and put it in the van. So they can't say I don't get my hands dirty, because I certainly do. But so as we stand, just on that deal, we spent 20,000 plus VAT. We've probably done about 8,000 in the logistics on top. So we're about 28,000 in, sorry. And but we've sold in excess of 45,000's worth of equipment, and probably another 10,000 left sat in my gym, and another 15,000's worth that we're actually keeping in the gym. So we've upgraded all our equipment for free, in effect, by utilising this opportunity. So people will say it's an advantage to have a few people have said like, it's an advantage because you own a gym. I mean, it's nothing to do with it. It's a completely isolated challenge, and it's probably cost the challenge more money because I've kept a load of free equipment. But it just shows you, if you take opportunities like that, then it can scale really quickly, and that one has generated quite a lot of income.
Yeah. And again, that kind of goes back to one of Robert Kiyosaki's sayings about, don't ask yourself a different question. Don't say I don't have enough money, but how can I get more money?
Exactly.
And I saw that again when you purchased some of the jewelry, and you actually you put a deposit down, didn't you? And you negotiated terms.
Yes, that's got to be paid next week. I've got 15,000 to pay, and I just looked. I haven't updated the last 5 days. It was about 13,000. So I think we're going to be clear for the 15,000 payment next week within the challenge. But it's interesting how one of the interesting conversations I had was with my mum at the start, and she's on so we set up a separate business for this challenge, and she's on it as well with me. She's been helping out here and there, trying to list stuff and doing that, but she couldn't understand why I kept spending the money. She was like, why don't you keep the money when you get it? I went, I don't want the cash, because cash goes down in value over time. I want more assets that I can resell and compound. So every time there's money in that account, I'm going to buy something else. And the despair of people around me is there's just stuff everywhere. It's ridiculous. The back room in my house is like a warehouse at the moment. It's just full of stuff, and you'll see. I think one of the videos shows Jack and I stacking the shelves of 1,600 car parts at one point, and the amount of stuff that's coming in and out of this room this year is incredible. But when we stop, I don't know. I was going to stop when we had 100K's worth of assets and then try and sell it to cash and go from there. But with a position of around 230 at the moment, in 6 months, do we keep going? I think we will, just to see how far we can push it in the year. Yeah,
you might be adding an extra 0 onto that challenge.
Oh, I wish. I don't think so. I think 500 is achievable, but I'm getting pretty tired now. Yeah. So
and how has this kind of picked up on social media? I know obviously you're getting a lot of attention on your Instagram channel, and how are people responding to the challenge?
It's been really good, actually, because at the start I was a bit worried that no one was seeing it and no one really cared, and had a few messages come in like in February time saying, I've started to do this. And I actually met a guy, I was speaking at an event up in Newcastle, and I had a young lad come up to me and said, thanks a lot, you've inspired me to start buying and selling stuff. And I think he'd done in the last month about £2,500 worth, which I think at the time was more than his salary. So it's definitely changing people's lives that are willing to take the action. And that's all I wanted to do at the start. I wanted to try and just challenge myself in a different way and inspire other people to start doing it themselves, and just to show that it can be done with no cash and very little time.
Yeah. And, I think you're doing a great job. And as I said, it's fantastic to see Jack really, getting so stuck in and learning, what a fantastic education for him that he'd never get at school, right?
No. And the funniest thing is, I always think one of the first things you do as a kid to learn buying and selling is trading cards at school, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, like your football stickers. And I remember, I think he told me that they weren't allowed to trade cards at school during break time. I was like, that's insane. Yeah. I was absolutely livid. So I'm making sure he knows how to trade stuff outside of school at least.
Yeah. So once again, everyone listening right now, the place to go is obviously to your YouTube channel to search Taylor Entrepreneur. Instagram is same, Taylor Entrepreneur.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and Facebook.
Yeah, and the proof is right there. Just subscribe, watch the videos, see exactly how Paul has been achieving this. And Paul, for those listening right now, I always ask our guests, the final question for someone who's maybe squashed up on that underground tube, perhaps maybe like you used to be, or stuck in the traffic jam on the way to work. And, they're inspired, they're listening, but something's still holding them back from just taking that action. What would be your words of advice for those people right now?
Well, there's always a fear to doing that. I openly admit, fear probably kept me in another 2 years longer than I should have done. And you just got to believe that if you're achieving any results with a small amount of time and focus around your main job, then imagine what you can achieve if you're on it full time. If you're hungry, if you've got the urgency that you need to cover the bills, then you're going to achieve results, as long as you're educating yourself and surrounding yourself with the right people.
That's great words to leave us on. Thanks so much for being a great guest on Escape the Rat Race Radio today, Paul. I look forward to continuing the journey online with you.
Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Cheers. Have a good one.